The story opened inside the Galactic Assembly, a station so old that even the stars around it had changed over time. The station floated in silence near a dying blue sun. Its metal walls were layered with centuries of history. Entire civilizations had risen, ruled, and vanished while this place remained. Inside the main chamber, hundreds of alien species were gathered. They came in many forms: tall beings of crystal skin, floating minds held inside light fields, insect empires wrapped in armor, ancient machine intelligences older than recorded time. They were the rulers of the galaxy. At the center of the chamber, a massive hologram slowly rotated. It showed a small blue planet, Earth. The image zoomed out. One star, a few planets, a thin web of old satellites and outdated stations. Compared to the great empires of the galaxy, it looked insignificant. A council speaker began to list the facts. Humanity, the speaker said, voice cold and calm, is a young species. Symbols appeared around the hologram, small, isolated, militarily outdated, politically divided. The chamber filled with soft sounds of amusement. Some species clicked their mandibles. Others released pulses of light that meant laughter. A few machine minds adjusted their calculations. Already bored, one alien warlord leaned forward. They still use fleet formations designed thousands of cycles ago, he said. Another leader added, their worlds argue more with each other than with enemies. A third voice joined in, amused. They have no guardians. The words echoed. No ancient weapons. No elder protectors. No alliances that matter. The laughter grew louder. Humans had once been useful. They traded. They helped rebuild after wars. They fought when asked. But now, they were simply in the way. The Galactic Assembly did not hate humanity. That made it worse. A decision was placed on the floor. Earth would not be destroyed. Destruction was reserved for threats. Instead, Earth would be absorbed. Human governments would remain, but only as symbols. Human fleets would be monitored. Human expansion would be restricted. Human technology would be studied, controlled, and limited. They would exist, but they would never rise. The vote was quick. Lights flashed around the chamber. The decision passed with overwhelming approval. Orders were sent. Fleet after fleet began moving toward the Sol system. Not in attack formation, not in urgency. This was not a war. It was an administrative action. Across the galaxy, observers waited for the usual response. They expected panic. They expected emergency broadcasts filled with fear. They expected human leaders to argue, threaten, beg, or surrender. That was how young species reacted. But nothing came. No message from Earth. No angry speeches. No warnings. No desperate calls for help. The human communication channels remained quiet. Alien commanders laughed again. They are hiding, one said. They are arguing among themselves, another replied. They will respond when our fleets arrive. The armadas crossed into human space. They passed old trade routes. They passed abandoned stations. They passed defense platforms that did not activate. Scans showed power but no activity. Human shipyards were empty. No fleets waited in ambush. No mines activated. No defensive lines formed. Still, no message. No signal. Just silence. That silence began to feel heavy. A junior sensor officer sat at one of the lower stations. He was not important. He was new. He was assigned to deep scan duty, usually a boring task, but his display flickered, then flickered again. He leaned closer. Commander, he said carefully. The bridge commander did not look up. What is it? I am detecting. Active systems. Human defenses. The commander active? Systems. Human defenses? The commander asked, amused. No, the officer replied. Not defenses. Then what? The officer hesitated. They are watching. The commander finally turned. Explain. Earth satellites, the officer said. They are old, very old, but they are still running. Their sensors are focused outward. On us. That is normal, the commander said. The officer swallowed. Yes, sir. But they are not broadcasting. They are not warning. They are not reacting. Then why does that matter? The officer checked his screen again. Because, he said slowly, their systems are not in panic mode. Silence spread across the bridge. The commander frowned. Define that. They are calm, the officer said. Their networks show no signs of emergency behavior. No power spikes. No evacuation signals. Another officer joined in. No planetary shields activating either. No fleet mobilization, someone added. The commander stared at the hologram of Earth. A small blue world, quiet, still, watching. The laughter from earlier no longer felt comfortable. The junior officer whispered, almost to himself, "Why is Earth not afraid?" No one answered. Far beyond the fleets, far deeper than scanners could reach, something old waited, and it had heard the call. The alien fleets continued their advance through human space. They moved with confidence, perfect formations, controlled speed, weapons powered but not aimed. This was not an invasion. It was a takeover. The commanders expected anything from Earth. A warning, a threat, even an insult. But the human channels remained silent. No messages, no protests, no last words. The deeper the fleets moved into the Sol system, the stranger it felt. Old human stations floated in orbit, their lights still on. Automated docks hummed quietly. Navigation beacons continued their steady signals, unchanged for centuries. Everything worked. Nothing reacted. One commander frowned as he watched the scans. "These structures should be abandoned," he said. "They are," replied a sensor analyst. "No life signs detected." "Then why are they still powered?" No one answered. As the fleets passed Mars, more data arrived. Human shipyards empty. Defense platforms online but inactive. Planetary shields present, but not raised. It was as if Earth had prepared and then decided not to fight. Some alien leaders laughed again, though their laughter was softer now. "They have accepted reality," one said. "They know resistance is pointless. They have no guardian to save them." The phrase echoed again, no guardian. Deep inside the Galactic Assembly's data vaults, ancient records were being checked. Old files, deleted histories, forgotten wars. An archivist, species-thin, quiet beings who remembered everything, reported something strange. "There are gaps," the archivist said. "Gaps?" The archivist said. "Gaps?" asked a council member. "Yes. Human history files were edited long ago. Entire sections erased. Erased by whom? The archivist hesitated. By humans. That caused confusion. Why would a young species erase its own history? The archivist did not answer right away. Meanwhile, near Earth, the junior sensor officer continued watching his screen. Something still bothered him. Earth signals were steady. Too steady. Civilian networks showed order, not chaos. Power grids showed balance, not strain. Human communications moved quietly within the planet, but nothing went outward. "They're not hiding," he muttered. Another officer looked at him. "Then what are they doing?" "I think," the junior officer said carefully, "they are waiting." "For what?" the other asked. He did not know. Then his screen flashed again. A new signal appeared. Not from Earth, from deep space, far beyond Pluto, beyond the edge of mapped human territory. The signal was old, very old, older than humanity's space age. The officer froze. "Commander," he said, voice tight. The commander walked over. "What now?" "I'm detecting a beacon," the officer said. "Human design, but ancient." "How ancient?" the officer said. "Human design, but ancient." "How ancient?" The officer checked again. "Thousands of years old." "That's impossible," the commander said. "Humans were not spacefaring then." "I know," the officer replied, "but the signal is real. The beacon did not broadcast words. It sent a pattern, a simple sequence, a key." The fleet's translators tried to read it and failed, but one system reacted. The Human Archive Translator, a system built to understand old human code. Text appeared, only a few words. "Projected origin, standby complete." The bridge went silent. "Project what?" the commander asked. Before the officer could answer, the signal changed. A second message followed. "Awaitin' confirmation." The commander felt something cold in his core. "Send a probe," he ordered. A drone moved toward the beacon. As it approached, sensors began to fail. Visual data distorted. Distance readings warped. Time markers slipped. Then the probe vanished. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. The beacon went silent again. Back at the Galactic Assembly, the archivists finally spoke again. "We have found something," one said. The chamber quieted. "Early galactic records mention humanity," the archivist continued. "Not as they are now, but as they once were, feared." Laughter rippled weakly. "That is impossible." The archivist did not react. Humanity was never strong, it said, but they were stubborn. Images appeared, old star maps, unknown battlefields, entire regions marks cleared. These areas were emptied long ago, the archivist said. No records of how, only one shared detail. The image zoomed in, a symbol, human, ancient, simple, a circle, broken by a single line. What is that? A council member asked. The archivist paused. A warning, it said. Back near Earth, the junior officer whispered something no one wanted to hear. Commander, Earth just sent a signal. The bridge froze. Put it through, the commander said. The message was short, calm, human. We acknowledge your presence, the message said. Do not proceed further. There was no fear in the words, no anger, just certainty. The commander swallowed. For the first time, he said quietly, I believe we made a mistake. Far beyond human space, something ancient shifted, and the waiting was over. The message from Earth spread through the alien fleets in seconds. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. That made it worse. We acknowledge your presence. Do not proceed further. No threat followed. No warning. Just a statement. Some commanders laughed again, but their laughter was thin. A bluff, one said. Humans bluff with words. Others were not so sure. Earth's message carried something strange. Confidence. The fleet slowed, not because of fear, but because of uncertainty. Orders were requested from the Galactic Assembly. Inside the assembly, the atmosphere had changed. The laughter was gone. Ancient species leaned forward. Machine minds recalculated again and again. The archivist species returned with more data. What we erased, the archivist said, was not a weapon. The chamber stilled. Then what was it? A council leader asked. A responsibility, the archivist replied. New images appeared. Human star systems, long ago. Human worlds burning. Alien fleets destroyed. Not by force, but by disappearance. No debris, the archivist said. No battles, just absence. The council protested. That violates known physics. Yes, the archivist replied. That is why it was buried. The archivist replied. That is why it was buried. The archivists showed a human file marked in red. Projected origin. It was built when humanity believed extinction was certain, the archivist said. Humans knew they could not outfight the galaxy. So they did something else. What? The council demanded. They made a promise, the archivist said, to never strike first. Murmurs spread. Project Guardian was not designed for war, the archivist continued. It was designed to end war. Confusion filled the chamber. How? It removed threats, the archivist said. Not by destruction, but by separation. A council member snapped. Speak clearly. The archivist paused. When the Guardian acted, hostile fleets did not die, it said. They were displaced. Where? No one knows, the archivist replied. Records end there. The chamber grew cold. Why has it not acted before? Another asked. Because humanity chose silence, the archivist said. They buried it. They erased it. They forgot it. A machine mind spoke for the first time. Why forget such power? The archivist answered softly. Because humans feared becoming monsters. Meanwhile, near Earth, the junior sensor officer watched space bend. Not violently, not suddenly, gently, like a slow breath. Sensors showed a region beyond Pluto changing shape. Stars shifted position. Distance values failed. Light behaved incorrectly. The officer felt sick. Commander, he said, space itself is moving. The commander stared. What direction? Toward us, the officer replied. A shadow appeared. Not dark. Not solid. Just present. Something massive existed where nothing should be. It did not arrive. It simply was. Weapons systems across the fleet, powered down on their own. No command input. No error message. Just silence. Panic finally broke. Regain control. Commanders shouted. No response. The shadow clarified. Lines appeared. Structure formed. A vast shape unfolded. Calm. Smooth. Endless. It was not a ship. Unfolded. Calm. Smooth. Endless. It was not a ship. It was not alive. It was not dead. It was purpose. The Guardian had awakened. A single signal pulsed outward. Every fleet received it. Every language translated it the same way. I am active. No voice. No emotion. Just fact. Some fleets tried to retreat. They could not move. Others tried to fire. Weapons vanished mid-charge, not destroyed, gone. The Guardian did not attack. It observed, measured, evaluated. The junior officer whispered, "It's thinking." Earth spoke again. "Stand down," the human message said. "This is your final warning." The Galactic Assembly demanded action. "Engage," they ordered. No fleet obeyed, not because they refused, because they no longer could. The Guardian extended something unseen. Space folded. 3 forward fleets disappeared. Not exploded, not torn apart, simply removed. The galaxy screamed. "Stop!" The Council broadcast. The Guardian paused. A new message appeared. Human language only. "Guardian protocol confirmed," it said. "Defense mode only." Earth sent one final transmission. "Calm, clear, human. We did not forget our Guardian," the message said. "We chose not to use it." Silence returned. The fleets waited. The galaxy watched. And for the first time in its long history, the galaxy understood fear. The Guardian did not move. That was what frightened them most. It floated beyond the human fleets, vast and silent, its shape bending the space around it like calm water around a stone. No engines burned, no weapons charged, no signals leaked. It simply existed. Alien fleets remained frozen in place, not locked by force but by the loss of control. Commands were sent. Systems answered nothing. Across the Galactic Assembly, panic finally broke. "This is unacceptable," one council leader shouted. Another demanded, "Shut it down, destroy it." A machine intelligence replied calmly, "We cannot target it. It does not occupy stable coordinates." The archivist species spoke again, voice low. "This is why it was feared. What does it want?" Someone asked. "It wants nothing," the archivist said. "It was built to respond, not to desire." Near Earth, human cities continued as normal. People worked. Children learned. Skies remained clear. No sirens, no speeches. Human leaders watched quietly, knowing something no one else did. The Guardian would not save Earth out of loyalty. It would do so out of purpose. The junior sensor officer stared at his screen as new data arrived. Entire regions of space were being rearranged. Not violently, carefully, like pieces moved on a board. Alien fleets were no longer where they should be. Some appeared light years away from Earth. Others were held in empty pockets of space where no stars existed. None could escape. The officer whispered, "It's not fighting us." The commander nodded slowly. "It's correcting us." The Guardian sent another signal, not to the fleets, to the Galactic Assembly itself. Every screen activated. Every species heard the same words. "I was created when humanity believed the galaxy would never accept them." Images appeared. Old human worlds burned by ancient wars. Human fleets destroyed by superior empires. Humans standing alone, rebuilding again and again. "I was sealed when humanity chose survival without domination." The Council tried to interrupt. They could not. "I remain inactive unless Earth faces extinction." A pause. You approached Earth. The silence that followed was heavy. One council member finally spoke. "We did not intend extinction." The Guardian responded immediately. "Intent does not change outcome." More images appeared. Alien fleets surrounding Earth. Supply routes cut. Human systems monitored. "You removed Earth's future," the Guardian said. "That is extinction by delay." Some species protested. "This is an overreaction." The Guardian did not argue. "I am not emotional," it said. "I am not political. I am a boundary." Near the frozen fleets, the Guardian shifted slightly. Space rippled outward. One fleet, small, aggressive, was moved, not destroyed, placed gently beyond the galaxy's edge. Its signals faded into nothing. A warning. The Galactic Assembly understood at last. This was not a weapon. Weapons threatened. This ended. Human representatives finally appeared on the Assembly screens. Not shouting, not angry, just calm. "We did not come to rule," a human envoy said. "We did not come to punish. We came to be left alone." A council leader asked, voice shaking, "What happens now?" The human envoy looked toward the unseen Guardian. "That depends on you." The Guardian spoke again. "Withdraw all forces from Earth. Remove all restrictions. Erase all claims. Do not return." The Assembly hesitated. Then a machine intelligence calculated outcomes. Survival probability without compliance, 0. The vote was instant. orders were sent. Alien fleets were released one by one. Control returned. Ships powered up. They fled, not in order, not in pride, but alive. As the last fleet retreated, the Guardian turned, not toward Earth, away. Its task complete, human leaders watched as the massive shape began to fold back into space itself. Stars straightened, distances normalized. The Guardian was leaving. The junior officer felt his screen clear. All readings returned to normal. The universe looked smaller again. Back to the Galactic Assembly, silence ruled. No laughter, no mockery. Earth's status was updated. UN Tutable Resquist. Do not engage. New laws were written, not in Earth's favor, in Earth's favor, in Earth's fear. One archivist whispered to another. They laughed at humanity. The other replied, they laughed at silence. Far beyond censors, the Guardian settled back into its waiting place. Inactive, watching. Humanity returned to quiet. They did not celebrate. They did not boast. They remembered why the Guardian was sealed. Power was easy. Restraint was harder. And the galaxy would never forget the lesson. Because now it knew the truth, Earth was never weak. It was patient. The galaxy did not celebrate after the fleets withdrew. It went quiet. Trade lanes slowed. Borders closed. Ancient empires called emergency councils behind sealed doors. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy did not talk about conquest or expansion. It talked about Earth. Across thousands of worlds, the same question was asked again and again. How did we not know? The Galactic Assembly reconvened in silence. The same chamber that once echoed with laughter now felt small. The hologram of Earth returned to the center. But this time, no one mocked it. No one smiled. The archivist species spoke softly. Humanity was never the strongest. It said, they were never the oldest. But they learned something early. A council leader asked, what? How to stop? The archivist replied. New reports arrived. Entire fleets that had vanished were still alive, held far beyond known space, unable to return unless the Guardian allowed it. No torture, no punishment, just removal. A machine intelligence processed the data. Conclusion, it said, humanity possesses absolute defense capability. Another council member corrected it. No, they said quietly. Humanity chooses absolute defense. That difference mattered. On Earth, life continued. Human cities did not cheer. There were no parades, no victory speeches. Most humans did not even know how close extinction had come. They went to work. They ate with family. They watched the stars with the same quiet wonder as before. Human leaders met in private. One asked the question no one wanted to say out loud. Should we have woken it? Another answered honestly, we didn't wake it. They looked at the screen showing deep space. Earth did. Far away, among alien worlds, fear took a new form. It was not fear of invasion. It was fear of mistakes. Small species realized something terrifying. The galaxy had rules, but Earth had limits. And crossing those limits had consequences. A warlord empire dismantled its border fleets near human space. An ancient hive mind erased old plans involving Earth. A trade coalition voted to recognize Earth as a neutral sanctuary, not out of respect, out of survival. A young alien asked an elder, why didn't humans use the Guardian before? The elder answered slowly, because power that ends everything must be used last. The junior censor officer, now promoted, stood at viewport months later. Space looked the same. That unsettled him. No scar marked where the Guardian had appeared. No monument, no warning signs, only memory. He reviewed archived footage. The Guardian had not been angry, not cruel, not proud. It had been careful. That's the scariest part, he whispered. At the Galactic Assembly, new laws were finalized. Earth was granted full sovereignty, no inspections, no monitoring, no restrictions. Human space was officially declared hands-off territory. One council member tried to object. Another stopped them. Do you want to test if the Guardian is truly asleep? The objection died. Historians rewrote records. The story spread slowly, carefully, not as propaganda, as caution. The galaxy laughed at Earth, the record said, until it learned why Earth stayed silent. Children across alien worlds learned a new lesson. Strength did not always shout. Power did not always attack. Sometimes it waited. On Earth, a quiet ceremony took place. No cameras, no crowds. A small group stood beneath open sky. A human leader spoke softly. We built it because we were afraid. We sealed it because we learned better. They looked up at the stars. We hope it never wakes again. Deep beyond known space, the Guardian remained inactive. Its systems returned to standby. Its awareness dimmed, but did not vanish. It waited, as it always had, not watching for enemies, watching for need. The galaxy adjusted. Expansion slowed. Diplomacy replaced force more often than before. Because everyone understood now, if Earth was ever pushed again, there would be no second warning. The Guardian had spoken once. That was enough. And so the galaxy remembered Earth not as weak, not as powerful, but as something far more dangerous. A civilization that could end a war, and chose not to. Time passed. Not days, not months, years. The galaxy changed quietly. No great war followed. No grand alliance was formed, but something invisible shifted. The stars felt cautious. Trade routes reopened, but ships avoided human space by wide margins. Explorers adjusted maps to leave empty rings around Earth's system. Military academies rewrote strategy lessons. One line was added to every book: never corner humanity. The Galactic Assembly still met, but its tone had changed. No laughter, no careless votes. Every decision now carried memory. Earth's hologram was shown one last time, not as a target, but as a reminder. A council elder spoke during a rare open session. We misunderstood humans, the elder said. We thought weakness meant danger was low. The archivist species replied. No, it said softly. We thought silence meant surrender. Historical recordings were released slowly to the public, carefully edited. The galaxy did not show the Guardian in full detail. Some truths were too heavy, but the lesson was clear. Humanity had stood alone for a long time, not because they wanted to, because they had learned not to depend on others. On Earth, the Guardian became a story half-truth, half-myth. Most humans never saw it. Some doubted it existed. Others believed it was just another exaggeration by the galaxy. Human leaders did not correct them. They allowed the story to fade, because fear was not what they wanted remembered. Hope was. In a quiet human archive, deep beneath Earth's surface, a single file remained active, not marked as a weapon, not marked as defense. It was labeled simply, Last Opitchen. Only a few humans knew the access code. Fewer still knew the cost. Far away, on an alien world near the edge of the galaxy, a young scholar studied old records. She had grown up after the event. To her, the Guardian was history, a question. She asked her mentor, why didn't humans use it to rule us? The mentor paused for a long time, then answered, because the moment you rule through fear, you become what you fear. The scholar nodded slowly. She looked at the stars through the station window. They could have ended us, she said. Yes, the mentor replied. And that is why they didn't. Years later, a small alien patrol drifted too close to human space by mistake. Navigation error, nothing hostile. The patrol panicked. They sent apologies. They reversed course immediately. Nothing happened. No warning. No Guardian. Just quiet space. The patrol commander later wrote in his log, Earth did not punish us. That frightened me more than if it had. In the depths beyond known space, the Guardian remained still, dormant. Its systems slowed to near nothing, but one process remained active: observation. It did not watch ships. It did not watch fleets. It watched intent. It waited not for threats, but for choices. On Earth, a child once asked during a history lesson, why did the galaxy laugh at us? The teacher smiled sadly, because they thought strength was loud. And what did they learn? The child asked. That quiet does not mean weak, the teacher said. Sometimes it means controlled. The galaxy never tested Earth again, not because Earth demanded respect, but because the galaxy understood something at last. Humanity did not build the Guardian because they loved war. They built it because they feared extinction. They sealed it because they learned restraint. They woke it only when there was no other path, and that truth spread farther than fear ever could. Among the stars, a new saying appeared, passed quietly from world to world, from commander to commander, from parent to child. If humans go silent, do not celebrate, because silence did not mean surrender. It meant the last line was already drawn. The Guardian slept, Earth lived, and the galaxy remembered. Not the laughter, not the fear, but the lesson. Humanity was never the loudest voice in the room. It was the one that spoke only once and made the universe listen.